Hey everyone, Josh Kelly, Citadel Benefits Group. I'm so excited to share with you what we're going to talk about today. I've got Keith Duturdy, who is a great friend of mine who I've known for 15, 20, I don't know, long time, long time. 15
Obviously,
years.
I made an impression. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I don't know how long it's been. But Keith and I have worked together for a long time. And, Keith is an expert on this process that we're going to talk about today. It's called Debt Free for Life. And, right now, with everybody's financial situation in this climate, this is just something that I think is so timely. And I'm really excited to share with everyone watching. So, with that being said, Keith, you want to give us a quick rundown of who you are and then you just take it away, kind of tell everybody, what this program is, how it works, and what it'll do for them.
Sure. I'm happy to walk through all that stuff. So, Josh, always good to see you, brother. It's been since 2010, 11, so we'll say 14
Okay.
years or so. And if anybody follows me on Facebook, I've been hacked. So I don't sell crypto, in case anybody was wondering. This is what whoever. So if you see my Facebook page, let me know what I'm doing because apparently I
It's
don't
not you.
even.
Not you.
It's not me. It's not me. So, one of the things that I've been in financial services since 2002 is when I started, cut my teeth at Merrill Lynch. And then I bought my first Allstate agency in 2007. And that's where I met Josh in the insurance world. So, I've done a lot of different insurance. Life insurance has been a big thing that I've done for a long time as well. But what I've noticed over my years being in business and in sales is that people will really gravitate towards things that solve problems. And one of the biggest problems that most Americans are dealing with is debt. Now, it's like that dirty little secret that none of us want to talk about. No one's out there bragging, hey, look how much debt I got. Do you know how much that we'll brag about the house or the car, but no one's showing those statements about how much they have to pay, what the interest is like, and things of that nature. So, one of the things that I realized is if we could have a solution where we help people with this problem, that that might be something people would like to consider. I probably understated that because the amount of requests that we receive about helping people get out of debt is bigger than I even thought was going to happen. So what Josh asked me to do is kind of just walk through this program. Now, this program's not for everybody. It might be for you, it might not. I'll just walk through and kind of just want to give you an idea. Also, share something that you can do on your own. You don't need us for any of that. So, because debt is something that I believe bankers don't talk about enough. They don't really give all the information. It's all in the fine print. And what you'll realize is when we look at the numbers, what we think should be happening a lot of times is not happening. And earlier today, Josh and I, we pulled up, which is kind of staggering, the current credit card outstanding balance right now, this moment, 1.14 trillion. That's a T, not a B, not an M, trillion dollars of credit card debt. And a lot of this happened in the pandemic. People just started to spend more and we started to rack up a lot of this. But at some point, we got to pay the piper. So how are we going to do that? What is the most effective way for you to pay off your debt? And hopefully I can share a couple ideas that will get you to a place where we don't keep the bankers as like the wealthiest people. Just go downtown and let's look at what the biggest buildings are. My town's the banks. I don't know about yours, but they
Right.
seem to be the only ones winning right now. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Debt Free for Life. So Debt Free for Life was created in 2017 by a man named Matt Zagula. Matt is one of these wicked mathematicians that loves to stare at numbers and really understands one, how amortization schedules work, and really how detrimental debt is to your financial situation. So he created Debt Free for Life because it's really twofold. The reason the program's not called Let's Get Out of Debt or Get Out of Debt Right Now, maybe something like Ramsey might say, or things of that nature. And there's a lot of things I agree with Ramsey about. But one of the things that program like that, if we help, what we found is we would teach people certain things like a debt snowball that I'll show you here shortly. of how to get out of debt. But then our clients would come back and say, car broke down, something happened with my AC unit. I needed funds immediately, got out of debt, but I used all my money to get out of debt. So now I have to go back in debt, and it's this never-ending cycle. So why Matt created this was to break the cycle of needing the banks whenever you need financing, whenever you need to buy something, creating an option for yourself that is not only let me borrow from the bank, something more mathematically advantageous for you. So I'm going to go through an idea with you. And if you'd like to talk about it further, I got some questions, just reach out to Josh and he'll connect you to me and we'll drop some information after, I'm sure. So let me walk you through what it is in terms of the Debt Free for Life program. And then you can kind of decide if it's something that makes sense for your situation in particular. So I'll share this screen right here. Josh, are we good? Can you see me right there? The screen.
We got you, man.
All right, cool. So I'm going to walk you through this debt free for life and kind of how it works. So the first step in the core of this philosophy is what is called a debt snowball strategy. It's a debt elimination strategy made pretty popular by a guy named Dave Ramsey. If you haven't heard of him, he's the guy that is fighting debt every single day. And this is a strategy that he promotes, and we agree as well because it is a core to what we're going to do. So basically a traditional snowball, step one, let's figure out where you're at. Okay, so for this example, we're going to say this client has three different debts: credit card, student loan, auto loan debt. Now, the strategy for a debt snowball says, let's go after the smallest debt first. Once that's gone, we'll move on to the next one. Okay, so this is the order that we're going to pay them off. Now, the outstanding balances are important, but one of the things we also want to look at is what are the minimum payments? So when we're looking at these, credit card 71, student loan 643, and the car payment 413. So that means this client, if we add those three numbers together, their minimum monthly payments are $1,127. That's their obligations. Okay. So what a debt snowball says is just pay the minimums on everything. Then really try to identify based on your budget how much more above the minimums you want to allocate to getting rid of your debt problem. So whatever above the minimums that you'd like to contribute, we'd all throw it at the smallest debt first. And then when that's gone, we take the minimum payment and the extra that you threw at your smallest debt, in this scenario, the credit card, and we move it to the next debt and so on and so forth. So let me show you with some numbers and it'll bring some clarity to the situation. So let's say this client, back to the situation where they have these three debts, and they looked at their budget and they really wanted to get out of debt. So they're like, Keith, Josh, I got $500 above my minimums. I want to allocate to getting rid of my debt problem. So what that means monetarily for this client is they will throw $571 at that credit card. Student loan, they pay the minimum. Car note, they pay the minimum. So now you got a ton going towards that. So when that's done, paid off, we're going to shift that 571 towards the student loan plus the minimum. So what this does is it locks in a budget for you. And when you pay something off, you don't use that money to go party or do something else. You just shift it to the next debt. And as you'll see, this will hyper pay things off. So now we got 571 plus the 643. So you're pounding down that student loan with 1214. Now, when that's gone, you're going to throw your whole budget at the car. You're going to throw that 571 plus what you're throwing, the 643 towards the student loan, plus your car note. So you got 1627 going straight towards the car. And when you do that, man, you'll pay this off in no time. And the great news is, man, you're 100% debt free. Here's the bad news. You're broke. You used all your money to pay off that debt. And then if you're a bit like me, anytime I'm in a good financial situation, my kids decide to destroy something, break a car, draw on the wall,
Braces.
something, right? Braces, like all these things, right? So because of that fact, we wanted to create a way where we can keep you out of debt. And that was the genesis of Debt Free for Life. And it's really because we understand what Albert Einstein said when he said, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. And if you're in debt, guess which one applies to you? I'll give you the hint. It ain't the good one. All right. So our goal is to get compound interest to work for you and stop it working for the banks. So what was created was a modified debt snowball situation. So the debt snowball, that philosophy I just showed you, is the core to this, but we modified it a bit so that when you pay your last thing off, you got cash, you got somewhere you can go to what we say buy things better. So the way that it would work is this is the exact same situation I showed you before. This client also has the $500 extra that they want to allocate to get rid of their debt fast. So in this scenario, what we do is you pay the minimum on your credit card, your student loan, and your car note. And the extra you throw into a high cash value whole life insurance contract, which is we call your debt free for life account. So what happens is our software tracks how your debt is dropping with you paying the minimum payments. It also tracks as your cash value rises in your high cash value whole life insurance. And once we have enough to pay off your first debt, we send you a text message, we pay off that credit card, and then it's gone. Now, that minimum that you were paying towards that credit card, that $71, you're going to pay yourself back and put it back into your high cash value whole life insurance contract. And I want you to remember that theme. Our goal is to get you into the habit of paying yourself back, borrow from yourself and pay yourself back, and be able to reap the rewards that all the banks have been reaping for years on our backs. So same scenario. Now you'll just pay the minimums on the student loan and the auto loan. And as the student loan debt drops and your cash value rises, once we got enough to pay off the student loan, text message, send it to you. We pay off the student loan. Goodbye, student loan. That's a good feeling. I know people are still paying the student loans. And then we're just going to rinse and repeat. Okay. And so what's great is same scenario with the debt snowball. You're 100% debt free. However, you're not broke. You got a little cash in your account. So most people, they're like, what's the best scenario for me? So I'm not about how I feel about these things. I'm about numbers, and it's not magic. It's just math. So let me show you the math. Because when you deal with your debt, you have three ways to handle it, just like everybody else. Choice number one, do nothing. Just pay the minimums. Okay. So this client owed 52,000, didn't send any extra. They're just gonna pay the minimum payments. For them, it would take 7 years for them to pay that off. Okay. And when it's paid off, there's nothing left over. Okay. I mean, everybody's pretty familiar with that. Now, the debt snowball method that I showed you at the beginning, same scenario, additional budget of 500. So obviously their monthly payments are $500 more. But look what it does to the payoff schedule. Less than half. And all you did was follow that strategy. Okay. So if you like that strategy, you can pause right here. You can go, you can deploy that yourself. You don't need any help to do that. Now, let's look at what the debt-free for life option looks like. Okay. Same amount to pay off, same additional budget. Monthly payments are the same as a debt snowball. You'll be in debt a little bit longer, about 6 months. But here's the difference. When you're done, you have $17,618 in a tax-free cash account that you can use to buy things better. And this is how we avoid paying extra interest that sometimes we don't realize we're paying. So typically when I show people things like this, they're like, well, what would it look like for me? So let me show you an example of a client, which I took out her name that we did recently. Okay. So our software, what it does is you put in all the debts that you have currently. Okay, so the information you would need is what debt it was, how much do you owe, what's the interest rate, and what's your minimum monthly payment. Those are all those numbers in black that you see. Okay, so with Susan here, what she did is filled all these things out. Okay, so she has a couple credit cards, a boat, car, truck, mortgage. Very typical. Okay, so when she came to us, this is what Susan was: stressed, worried, anxious about. She's like, Keith, I got $327,000 of debt, but I feel like my interest rate is, pretty good, 3.33. And I would agree, it's a pretty good APR. But our software digs a little bit further. And when you look at what's under the hood and how you actually pay yourself back, it's pretty staggering how banks set this up. So in the far right column, our software calculates something that's called effective interest cost. So what that means is how much of every payment that you send to the bank goes to interest and how much actually pays down the principal. If you ever want to just make yourself sick, pull out your mortgage statement and see how much goes to interest and how much goes to principal. This is why it takes forever for us to pay those things off. So in this scenario, if you look here, her effective interest cost was 25.36. So what does that mean? That means 25 cents of every dollar that Susan is sending for her Visa or her car note or her truck or her mortgage, a quarter of every buck is just going to interest. And Susan was like, no, no, my interest rate is 3.3, Keith. There's no way that can happen. Now, if you dig in to see how amortization schedules work, this is exactly how it happens. How it works is the biggest portion of interest you'll pay at the beginning, and as a percentage of your payment, it will go down all the way near the end of your loan. So, like for this mortgage at 3.2%, Susan's effective interest cost we figured out won't be 3.2% until the 29th year of her 30-year mortgage. Hmm. And then said monetarily, this is what really got Susan. We figured out how much of her payments are actually going to interest. So if you look at the payment column all the way to the bottom, every single month she has to pay $3,576 in her payments. However, 907 of those dollars is just going to interest. So if you want to bust out your calculator and check my math, let's do it. So take up 907 and then times that by 12. And the number I get is 10,884. That's how much money Susan was losing to interest cost every single year. She was like, well, how the heck am I supposed to pay this stuff off, Keith, when I'm sending the bank 11 grand a year almost? And this is why this is a huge problem. And a lot of it is just the bankers don't explain it well. If you want me to be honest, I don't even think they know how it works. They never really dug into it. They're just trying to sell a mortgage or some other loan. So what we do is try to pull the veil back so you can make good financial decision about what you're doing with your money. So Susan was like, I don't want to play this game anymore. So we built her a plan, and we can do this for any of you free of cost, just so you can see what your numbers would look like. So this is what we did for Susan. We put all her stuff in, our software figures it out, and it figured out if she just did what the bank asked her to do, just made the minimum payments, what most people do, she was going to be in debt until December 2039, which she didn't like that answer. Now, when she followed her plan, we're going to get her out in June 2028, 4 years from now. And look at the difference. If you look at the saved, she's going to save $49,650 in just interest by paying this thing off early. So the first thing I want to tell you is whoever's told you keep your mortgage so you get the tax break, don't pay it off, they work for the bank. They have to, because the math, as my daughter would say, the math don't math. I don't really even know what that means, but I thought it was cool to say. And if she sees this, then she'll think I'm silly. But anyway, I digress. They save almost 50 grand just by paying it off early. So paying things off early makes a lot of sense in general. Now, overall, why Susan was so excited about this plan is in 6 years, she paid off that whole $327,000. And by year 9, she'll have $227,000 in a tax-free cash account to buy things better in the future. So that's about it. That's the whole, from, as quick as I could do it, about 20 minutes. So you tell me, Josh, what questions do you have? Does it make sense?
Yes, what really stood out to me in this is that the debt snowball is great.
Mhm.
But the discipline someone has to have in order to do that It's tough. It's tough. You know, obviously, if somebody was super disciplined, they probably wouldn't have a ton of credit card debt already, right?
You're
They
probably
drive the
right. You're probably
same
right.
car they've had for 20 years, and
Mhm.
they wouldn't do that. That's smart money, but most of us aren't like that.
Yeah.
What I loved about it was how simple it was. You know, it doesn't change the money that's going out of your household each month. It
Mhm.
just puts it into a different way of doing things. And what I've experienced is, and the ones we've done for people is get you out of debt about half the time.
Mhm.
And you end up with money that you can go in and do stuff with. But you also have a life insurance policy as well. So if something
Mhm.
happens to you, you got that too. So, we want to try to keep these short. Obviously, we could go into a lot of details on it, but my purpose on this was just for Keith to give you a high level understanding of how it works and what it can do. If you have any interest whatsoever, reach out to us here at the office 256-826-5674. You shoot me an email. That's Josh at citadelbg.com. CITADELBG.com. Of course, if you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, all of our information is there as well. And then we'll get you an appointment set up. Keith or I will go through and just put all your stuff into the software, show you where it's at. Doesn't cost you anything to do that. Give you all the
Mhm.
data and break it all down. And I just think it makes a lot of sense. If debt bothers you, if you want to get out of debt, I think this is a good move. But as Keith said, it's going to be a fit for you. It's not for everybody. I've got some buddies that they love their debt and they do brag about their debt, Keith. They much over here. I have a lot, but it's not my favorite. So that's it. Keith, thanks so much for taking the time to do this. And everybody, any questions? You want us to run the numbers for you? Happy to do it. Doesn't lock you into anything and doesn't cost you anything to see what it could do. So I think it makes a lot of sense. But that's it. Keith, thank you again. Give us a shout.